KK Downing is back with a new band and a brand new album.
I'm back.
Well, technically Sermons of the Sinner will be out in a week, but since I heard it a couple of months ago when I was preparing for the interview with KK Downing, which by the way you should check out if you haven't before, I think now is about time to take a look at what is inside KK's Priest debut record and hopefully answer the question which seems to bother so many of whether this sounds more like Priest than actual Judas Priest. Alright, here you go. The album opens with a short spoken word intro piece, which I actually should have just skipped in this video, yet in some weird way, Incarnation might actually be a perfect descriptor for the record. It is rather tense, has this 80s vibe to it, especially with the rather straightforward metal praise and lyrics, and evokes this feeling that something is about to explode.
Shut up and take my money!
On the album's first single, HELLFIRE Thunderbolt, KK and the team explode in full might right from the opening notes. Despite the song's main riff being slightly resembling of that of Nostradamus, overall the track takes a completely different direction. And since it has been chosen as the first single to announce KK Downing's return to the music world, as well as the first full-length track on the album, it gives you the exact idea of what Sermons of the Sinner is going to be about, both theme and music-wise. And so here's the deal. If you like that track, I can almost surely guarantee you that you will absolutely love the entire album, and vice versa. On the title track, the band shows absolutely no sign of slowing down, except of course for the lyrical breakdown towards the song's end, which draws on KK's 50-year-long career in its venture to evoke this nostalgic feeling in all of his fans, and I gotta say that it actually succeeds in it. And thus, with Sermons of the Sinner, we can come to the first couple of conclusions about the album. Number one, despite featuring some amazing musicians, it is actually built around KK Downing's legacy, both music and lyric-wise. And this will be the case throughout the record. And number two, while being almost 70 years old, KK Downing still remains one of the greatest heavy metal guitarists of all times. And he still remembers how to use that whammy bar. By the way, according to KK himself, the song of course draws its title from the legendary 1977 track, and he actually views and presents himself as the sinner in it. The sermons then would obviously be the songs he's written throughout the years, and the main idea behind the song and the album is that all of those who forged metal back in the day would not be around forever, and thus all they should do is produce as much heavy metal music as they possibly can in order to encourage the young bands to continue their legacy. With SACERDOTE and DIABLO, which can be translated as the priest and the devil, the band does not only send greetings to the enormous Spanish-speaking heavy metal fan base, but also showcases a rather unusual for KK's legacy rhythm section structure, with the bass line drifting away from the drums and following rhythm guitar instead. Just like somebody else I know of. By the way, if you didn't know, in 2003, the band's bassist, Tony Newton, actually formed a band Voodoo Six together with somebody called Richie Faulkner, who is now a member of Judas Priest.
Tony, did he formed the band with Richie going back then?
By the way, do you see how I'm seamlessly and absolutely naturally including this interview bit and sending you a subliminal message to watch it afterwards? Yeah, you should. On Raise Your Fists, KK's Priest leaned towards a more catchy hard rock sound.
Raise your fists in the air.
The band is clearly shooting for a single-on with this one, summoning all of KK's fans, whom of course he has a lot around the globe, to unite under a banner of the new band. So in a nutshell, basically exactly the same thing which the next song, Brothers of the Road, is doing as well.
We're brothers of the road and we rock.
Overall, I gotta say that the album is kind of divided into three different clusters, with the first one being comprised of the fast and heavy tracks, which open the album and lure you in, the second one being full of the catchy hard and heavy tunes calling for the unity in the metal world,
Warriors of the road unite, heavy on the metal with all your
By the way, I actually feel like the next track, Metal Through and Through, would fall under this category, despite it being one of the longest ones on the record, with more than 8 minutes of running time, and the third cluster, possibly being the strongest one, and culminating in the album's closing track. On Wild and Free, the band picks up its speed once again, yet this time to an absolutely new level. Okay, you guys probably know by now that I hate those comparisons with the older songs, and believe me, I'm trying to avoid it as much as I can in this review. And so I've included only the weird ones, the ones that I cannot actually explain. So here you go. In some weird way, this track actually reminded me a lot of Ram It Down, although the riffs, the song structure and the tempo changes are completely different. So please, when you hear it, do come back and let me know if I'm crazy or not. With a slow haunting intro to Hail for the Priest, you almost believe that the band will drop a power ballad on you. Yet the vicious intro guitar riff quickly wakes you up, making it clear that all those heavy songs you heard before that on the record were just a warm-up. I actually believe that out of all the songs on this record, Ripper's voice is most fit for this one. This is the first one in which I actually cannot imagine anyone else singing it. And to be honest with you, I have no idea why the band hasn't chosen this one to be released as one of the singles instead of one of those from the second cluster. And in addition to that, the track's placement is chosen very wisely, unfolding what was started on Wild and Free and raising adrenaline high for a listener to get excited for the album's closer.
I love it.
And speaking of which, I'm sure I wasn't the only one who was both excited and rather scared to see a track titled Return of the Sentinel on the track list. I mean, of course, the Sentinel is one of the most beloved Judas Priest songs from my personal favorite Judas Priest album. Yet luckily, despite using several of the same guitar licks as in the original version, and of course continuing the story of the Sentinel in the lyrics, this song has both a completely different feel and the structure compared to the original. Actually so different that with its bass lead and guitar duet rather than a duel, it actually feels more like an Iron Maiden song than a Judas Priest one. And I actually don't want to impose my personal view of this song given its emotional connection to the Judas Priest discography and would much rather wait to hear your opinions on it, so for now I'll just share one thing. What is absolutely clear that out of all the tracks on this record, Return of the Sentinel is the only one which would make a perfect album closer. So, is Sermons of the Sinner a good heavy metal album? Yes, I have absolutely no doubts that if you enjoyed the tracks which were already released, you will absolutely love the entire record.
Yes, that's true.
No matter what, we now definitely have another pure heavy metal record in our collection. And by the way, I really hope that my limited edition vinyl will come sooner rather than later and I can enjoy it in a real old-fashioned way. So how does it compare to KK Downing's previous work at Judas Priest? Well, here's the tricky part. It does not. I've heard so many people on the internet saying that this album feels more like Judas Priest than actual Judas Priest. And I have to completely disagree with that.
What?
Judas Priest's songwriting process has always been the story of compromise and often drama between the three main songwriters. Their rhythm section, led by Ian Hill, is structured in a completely different way from, let's say, Iron Maiden, Manowar, or Accept. In addition to that, the song's lyrical themes are completely detached from anything Judas Priest have ever done throughout their career. So does it have these familiar elements from the classic Judas Priest? Of course it does. KK Downing was one of the main songwriters for the band. And yet it should not be compared to Judas Priest, both in its songwriting process and its execution.
Exactly.
If you think that in any way this is a criticism of this record, then know that it is not. I would actually be very disappointed to see one of the greatest guitarists of all times and one of the founders of heavy metal as a genre trying to impersonate his own past. And what do you guys think? Please let us know in the comments what you personally thought of these singles which were already released, and when you hear the entire album, please make sure to come back and share your thoughts of it. As always, thank you so much for watching this, guys, and keep rocking.